gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Casby 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. As the 120-day social contract of President Mahama elapses today, will assess his fulfilled and unfulfilled achievements ahead of his much-anticipated address tonight. Also coming up tonight, Supreme Court adjourns indefinitely judgment on suit challenging President's authority to remove security heads without proving misconduct. We are live in court. Much later on the program, Health Facilities Regulatory Authority identifies staffing deficiencies as a major challenge facing health facilities in Ghana. We have more from the National Dialogue on the State of Health Facilities. All eyes are fixed on Vatican City today as the sacred process of a papal conclave unfolds behind the walls of the Sistine Chapel. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the Supreme Court has adjourned indefinitely the suit filed by Imani Africa and security analyst Professor Kwesi Anin, which challenges the president's authority to terminate the appointment of heads of security agencies without proving misconduct. The Apex Court was due to deliver its ruling on Wednesday, May 7. Imani Africa and Professor Kwesi Anin argued that based on a proper interpretation of sections of the 1992 Constitution, the president lacks the authority to remove the Inspector General of Police and heads of security agencies unless there is proven misconduct or misbehavior. The suit, filed in March 2024, preceded the removal of former IGP Dr. George Akufo-Dampare. Now, earlier this year, Imani sought a court injunction to prevent Dampare's possible dismissal. However, the president proceeded to appoint a new IGP. The Supreme Court's eventual ruling will be landmark, as it has been customary in Ghana's Fourth Republic for IGPs and security heads to be replaced when governments change. Lord Edwasare is our court affairs correspondent. He joins us live on the line. Lord, just tell us the reasons the court gave for adjourning its ruling on this matter today?
Right, Beatrice. So the case wasn't even called. When we got to court, the parties were present, but then a clerk of the court came to read out the announcement that she had been informed to adjourn the case indefinitely. So as it stands now, we do not know when the case will be recalled. We are sure there will be a hearing notice, and then the case will be back in court, and then the ruling will be given on the matter. Just to bring us back to speed, at the last agenda, specifically to this matter, the Supreme Court has moved that injunction suit against the firing or the removal of the Inspector General of Police. Now, you do recall that Professor Kwesi Anin and then Imani Africa, the adjourned suit, went to the Apex Court to injunct the president from removing former IGP, now former, I should say, George Akufo-Dampare. Now, at the time the case was called, the president had already replaced him with the sensitive IGP now, Priest Senator Yahonu. And so the Apex Court held that the injunction application was now moved. But then they did indicate that in the ruling today, if it goes in favor of Imani Africa, it would move to the ruling. If it goes in the favor, it will go to the next appointment. So it won't affect this present appointment because that ship has already sailed. But for the next appointment that will be made, it will reflect in that regard. And so I spoke to the lead counsel in the matter, Kofi Dental. He's also the vice president of Imani Africa. He wasn't too pleased about the adjournment indefinitely this time around because as it stands, depending on how things go, it could mean that the panel may be reconstituted, and if that happens, there's a possibility that the case may even have to be restarted from scratch. So we can listen to what President has to say.
And then I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you for us to conclude our conversation.
It's very disappointing. There's huge anticipation for this judgment. And I'm already getting calls. People are waiting to hear what they will say. We thought it should be ready by now. We suspect it's because of the suspension of the Chief Justice, who was the president of this panel. Indeed. It's just a suspicion. We've not been giving any reasons. In fact, it was the court clerks who informed us that the matter has been adjourned sine die. What it means is that adjourned indefinitely, which is quite a bit surprising and disappointing to me, because a judgment which is a few months in the making could have been ready and maybe could have been delivered. It is true that the Chief Justice was the president of the panel, but she was not the only member of the panel. And in my dreams, I was hoping that she would have given her judgment and that it would have been delivered today.
You had Kofi Bento, Vice President of Imani Africa, talking about what he was imagining in his dreams. Lord Edwasare, are you able to tell us what next they intend to do?
Well, at this point, they just have to wait for the case to be listed as part of the court list on the Supreme Court's court list, and then they'll know when next the case will be called. And in fact, when the case is called, we would know if it's pretty evident or almost evident that the panel will be reconstituted, because, like you said, the Chief Justice, Beatrice Adu, she was the presiding chair in the matter, but now that she's been suspended, there's a possibility that she'll be replaced. And if she's replaced, it means that the panel will be reconstituted. And so the dynamics are quite tricky here. We'll see how things will pan out from them onwards.
Thank you so much, Lord Edwasare. He's our court affairs correspondent. Now, President Mahama's 120 days social contract with the people of Ghana elapses today. The president, in the run-up to the 2024 general election, pledged to implement a number of initiatives and targets achievable within a space of 4 months. Tonight, the president will account to the country in a televised address at what he has achieved so far within that period. Noble Crosby Annan is my colleague. He joins me in the studio with some brief analysis on what we do know have been achieved so far. Crosby, first of all, just give us a breakdown, really, of the things that have been achieved so far based on what we know.
Before we go to what has been achieved so far, let's talk about what he mentioned. So he grouped it into 25 points. The NDC grouped it into 25 points when they wanted to come into the reins of government. One was to appoint and submit cabinet ministers within 14 days, form the leanest and most efficient government within 90 days, establish a code of conduct for government officials, hold a national economic dialogue and develop homegrown fiscal plan, scrap harsh taxes including e-levy, COVID levy, BET tax and emissions levy, review import taxes on industrial and agricultural equipment, prepare legal groundwork for the 24-hour economic policy, set up the Accelerated Export Development Council to boost exports, host a national conference on education reforms, implement no academic fee policy for first-year tertiary students. The 11th is introduce social interventions, free tertiary education for persons with disabilities, as well as the Mahama Cares Fund, distribute free sanitary pads to female students, launch forensic audits into key corruption scandals, ban political appointees from buying state assets, allocate seed money for the establishment of the Women's Development Bank. The point 16 is create jobs through a Jumara apprenticeship and the 1 million coders program, scrap the ban on salvaged vehicle imports to support local artisans, reform government scholarships to end political favoritism, ban illegal mining and launch environmental recovery initiatives, introduce the Black Star experience to boost tourism, purge security agencies of militia and vigilante elements, reopen investigations into major unresolved crimes, probe the Akosombo Dam spillage and its impact, compensate flood victims, and finally, restructure loss-making state-owned enterprises. So this is what the NDC set out to do before they won power.
And if you're watching us, we're going to be showing you really pictures of what has been achieved so far, some of the things that Crosby just mentioned. So you've mentioned 25 pointers.
Yes.
Give us what he's done so far, because as at yesterday, we knew illegal mining, which he talked about that he could not achieve that within, as in dealing with it within 4 months, and the almighty 24-hour economy as well.
So we're looking at the document we have here, the checklist. So fully completed project, we understand it is 20, and not yet launched or initiated is 5. Let me break it down for you. So projects or programs that have not been done yet, that is 5 out of the 25. Review import taxes. You know, the promise to review import taxes on industrial and agricultural equipment, that remains unfulfilled. It has not happened yet. He also wanted to accelerate Export Development Council. As we speak, there's no public information confirming the establishment of an accelerated Export Development Council to boost exports. Now, the president also mentioned forensic audits into corruption scandals. There's been no public information.
There have been conversations about it, actually. I think the one for export was about 3 days ago. So the president talked about that mechanism or vehicle giving us about 10 billion?
So the conversations are being had, but for the proper establishment of that council to champion that initiative of his, that has not happened. The president also wanted to do forensic audits into corruption scandals. Now, there's also no public information confirming the launch of forensic audits into key corruption scandals as promised, although the Attorney General is following up on some other corruption allegations, investigations, and all of that. But forensic information, forensic audits, that we don't know. For salvage vehicle imports ban, there's no public information. Reforming government scholarships, President Mahama promised to do that, to reform government scholarships to end political favoritism. That is yet to be fulfilled, and ban on political appointees.
But at least you can categorize that under the Code of Conduct 2025, which was launched on Monday.
Yes, in fact, that also covers the banning political appointees from buying state assets.
Yeah.
That also qualifies that. Now, for those that he has fulfilled, you know, the cabinet appointments have been done, the National Economic Dialogue has happened, the National Education Reform Conference has happened, social intervention for persons with disabilities, you know, that has also happened, the no academic fee policy. We understand about 499.8 million cedis has been allocated for the policy. The Ejimere and the National Apprenticeship Program has also happened. The 1 million coders has happened. A free sanitary pass for female student. Now, for this, the distribution of free sanitary pass to female students from class 5 through to SHS is aimed at reducing absenteeism. That has been initiated. We don't know whether the initiation or the launch qualifies as distribution. So at the launch, there was some distributed, but we don't know how far that goes. You know that the Blacks Experience has also been launched. The Women's Development Bank has been established with seed money. There's also compensation for flood victims. 242.5 million cedis has been allocated to initiate steps to compensate these people. The Akosombo Dam Spillage Probe, a 5-member committee has been formed. A code of conduct for government officials that happened yesterday, and form a lean and efficient government. A lean government has been formed, but what is the measurement for efficiency?
Indeed, and a lot of Ghanaians look forward to hearing the president tonight on his own assessment. But let's listen to him.
This note, it is my honor and privilege to invite the minister and his colleagues to join me to unveil the logo and officially launch the National Apprenticeship Program. I thank you. May God bless our nation, Ghana.
E-levy bill. I'll proceed to sign it. Okay, I've just given assent to the repeal of the famous e-levy bill. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, it is my honor and privilege to officially launch the National Sanitary Pad Distribution Program, a promise made and a promise kept. Committed to ensuring that all who are concerned about education in Ghana have an opportunity to contribute meaningfully to shaping the policies and programs that will deliver the kind of education we all want. gratified that this has become a reality, and I stand before you today to officially open the National Education Consultative Forum with great pleasure and a deep sense of purpose. Today we're launching more than just an initiative. We're launching hope. Hope for thousands of Ghanaians living with chronic diseases. Support from the fund will be based on formal applications, carefully vetted, and will focus on costs not currently covered under the NHIS. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather in front of the Independence Act to relaunch the Black Star. I pledged to restore discipline, integrity, and accountability into our governance. Today, we're taking an important step towards fulfilling that promise with the official launch of the Code of Conduct for political appointees. Every layer of this initiative has been designed for scale and for sustainability. At community information centers across all metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, this decentralized approach ensures that no matter where you live, in the city or in a remote village, you will have access to the opportunity of the 1 Million Coders program.
And he had President John Mahama's voice, really all indicating which of the programs he launched earlier, just a bit of those programs or his promises that have been fulfilled. Let's go to the Central Region now, because some residents have been reacting to the 120 days government of President John Mahama.
It's quite impressive. For the first 120 days, he's been doing something, and I think the major issue surrounding, his first 100 days has to do with the Galamsey, and like he rightly said the other time, he's trying to do something about it. But quite apart from Galamsey issues, all the other promises he gave concerning e-levy, the betting tax, and all the others, Mahama Cares, and all the other promises he made. But actually, you've seen, some glimpses of whatever he promised Ghanaians.
The first 120 days of the president so far has been interesting. It's the fact that he has abolished the e-levy, emission levy, and all those levy that it absorbs our money. So, it has been interesting so far. And once again, to our NSS salary, our allowance to come so perfect.
Well, personally, I think he's doing his best, considering the measures that he has put in place. One thing that I've loved that man so much is cancellation of the betting tax and other nuisance tax that he was talking about. And then recently he has launched the conduct for the appointees, of which I think is going to help them or shaping them in their activities.
You heard some residents of the Central Region, so let's get the views of those in the Northern Region.
I see that your mama has done well because of our fathers and brothers. This time, this market fair, they bring the fare down to 120, and it was very high. So because of that, we thank God and thank John Mahama.
From Tamale. My worry about John Mahama is promise us to our water. Here in Tamale, we are suffering water too much. So I just wanted to ask a question. Maybe he promised us that maybe he will end the water problem here. So I just want to ask Mr. President, he should look at Tamale. We are suffering too much. That be my worry. Yes, that be my worry. So I just want to put less
120 days that he promised Ghanaians. And so far, what I've seen, I think he has done 80% of what he has promised. He promised us that he will reduce Mecca fare, and he reduced it.
And he had some residents of Tamale in the Northern Region, some 19 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll tell you more about the 120 days and the expiration of the deadline for declaration of assets, which is today, and what people are saying about it. Don't go away.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba. A freezer. Adama, a craftsmanship. Adama, make my sorry. Can you know? Obo Moasia. I do for Nobium Unum and San last night. I don't know what we did. Adama for you from what we say. Yet you drew back up a ship will be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what you are not fugum. What the boss here? For you be any of us, you have got to say, over Timono. No more you sure say. Woman shown task here. No more send up for now. Freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a person does so among Amoniaji. To me, me what's he car? To me, but you may not do a some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream or baby bear a tongue cry on you. I say Kayona Kinkai in Choya a dream.
Some 22 minutes past the hour of 12. Thank you for staying. Now the deadline for all government appointees to file their assets with the Auditor General elapses today. President Mahama on Monday extended the grace period for his ministers of state, heads of public agencies and board members to file their assets by Wednesday, May 7. That is today, or risk a dismissal. The move followed the failure by some of the appointees to meet a 31st March deadline set earlier by the president, resulting in the forfeiture of 4 months' salary as punishment. President Mahama has vowed to crack the whip while demanding strict compliance with the code of conduct to guide all appointees. Meanwhile, governance and anti-graft watchers have called for the adoption of the set code of conduct recently outdoored by President Mahama as a national document to guide all public office holders. Speaking with me on TV3's Agenda, Mary Adu, the executive director for Ghana Integrity Initiative, emphasized the need to also pass the Conduct of Public Officers Bill to enhance the fight against corruption.
It is a good one. We cannot run away from that the president wants his appointees to live by a code, and we cannot run away from that he wants to see very good and effective as well as efficient processes going on within government. So this is a good initiative. But then to say that if tomorrow we have somebody else in power who is not thinking about this, then we'll have a problem. That's why we want to see the issue around the conduct of public officers, which has gone through several parliaments now, since 2013, when the president, current president was also president. Shraj put this together. And let me say, most of the things that are captured here are also located in the bill. And so when we ask for it, we are not asking for something that is extremely different. We are just saying that some of the conducts are not criminalized. Let's see how we criminalize them. Let's see how we are working as a state to ensure that conduct of every person who wants to work in public office is well regulated.
You have the Marietta Executive Director for the Ghana Integrity Initiative. For his part, former UN Senior Advisor on Governance, Professor Bafo Agyemang also asked that the government put in place a mechanism to monitor the implementation of the Code of Conduct for his appointees.
What is important is if this government is able to set up a machinery that will monitor and report. Because some of the behaviors, if they are not reported, you wouldn't know. Like the gift giving. He's saying that if you get something worth more than 20,000 cedis, report it or present it to the chief of staff. Now, if somebody travels abroad and the person lacks integrity and keeps this gift, I mean, how do we know? No. So to a large extent, any code of conduct, any ethical code requires self-discipline and the commitment of the individuals who are involved. So we are hoping that with the leadership of the president himself giving some 2 cars, I understand the other day, cars that were gifted to him, he now passed them on to the state. And if you recall, during his first term, he received a car, and I think he took some public comments before finally he gave to the state. So I think he has learned from that experience. That's why I believe that this time around, he's really serious about this, and we hope that his appointees will live by this new ethical code.
And you had the former UN Senior Advisor on Governance, Professor Bafo Agyemang speaking earlier on Agenda last night. And Agenda is at 9 p.m. on TV3 every Tuesday with me. Now, following concerns raised about shortfalls in funding for health resources, the Deputy Chief Executive in charge of operations at the NHIA, Dr. Senanu Kwesi-Jokoto, says that uncapping the NHIL is expected to significantly boost the NHIA's budget and potentially exceed 10 billion cedis. Now, as a panelist on Media Journal's National Dialogue on State of Health Facilities in the country, Dr. Senanu Kwesi-Jokoto shared his perspectives about future directions.
You have to pay more on whose side?
So we have to have realistic tariffs, and I can tell you, so I'm landing there now. His Excellency, the President, realized this gap. The NHIL has been capped for the past few years. When we say has been capped, that means the funding available for NHIA to reimburse these health facilities has a limit has been placed on it. So whatever we collect from from taxes that is supposed to go to NHIL for the health facilities would have been capped. So maybe you're supposed to get 100% of it, you are given 40%. I think that's the Act 947, I believe.
It has been capped. And
what's the percentage of the capping?
The capping is 85.
Of the annual collection?
85.
85.
Yeah.
And you have right there the Deputy Chief Executive in charge of operations at the NHIA, Dr. Senanu Kwesi-Jokoto, on that same platform. Health facilities are not in the best of shapes. That's the concern raised by the President of the Nurses and Midwives Association of Ghana, Perpetual Ofori. She also said that all health facilities rely on internally generated funds, that's IGF, to cover operations cost of these facilities, and we'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. Log on to ShriNews.com for more news. My name is Beatrice Adu. Have a good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana's inflation drops to 21.2% in April 2025, down from 22.4%.
The year-on-year inflation for April 2025 was 21.2%, down from 22.4%.
Also, Ghana Union of Traders Associations commends government for strengthening the local currency as it pushes for single digits to drive down cost of production.
It is being designed with proportionality in mind, ensuring that regulatory requirements reflect the varied realities.
Plus, Bank of Ghana initiates comprehensive review of cybersecurity directive to tackle emerging risks in artificial intelligence, among others.
It is being designed with proportionality in mind, ensuring that regulatory requirements reflect the varied realities of different institutions.
I am Bismarck Ausa. These stories and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. Ghana's year-on-year inflation rate has decreased to 21.2% in April 2025, down from 23.4% in March 2025. According to recent data, food and non-alcoholic beverages continue to drive inflationary pressures. Government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu observed that the decline in inflation rates suggests a slight easing of price pressures, potentially influenced by monetary policies or changes in global commodity prices.
The year-on-year inflation for April 2025 was 21.2%, down from 22.4% inflation recorded in March 2025. This inflation rate of 21.2% is further decomposed into food inflation of 25%, down from 26.5% food inflation in March 2025, and also non-food inflation of 17.9%, down from 18.7% in March 2025. Again, I would like to highlight that in terms of disaggregation from locally produced items and also from imported items, the inflation rate of 21.2% for April 2025, we saw locally produced items generating inflation of 27.7%, down from the inflation rate of 24% in March 2025.
And that was government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu. Now, the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, has commended the Bank of Ghana for its efforts in stabilizing the cedi against major trading currencies. The union noted that the positive trend has brought relief and confidence to the economy. Head of Business and Economic Bureau at GUTA, Charles Kusi Apiakubi, attributed the stability to prudent measures by the Bank of Ghana and called for efforts to be sustained.
A situation where you see some stability within the forex market and further reduction, that of course gives us some hope. It's a respite to us as businesses. It basically gives you some level of confidence to predict and project the next investment level you want to take of this country. So we are key stakeholders when it comes to economic development. We cannot sit aloof and it always sounds to be complaining. When it's good, we must be bold to say it is good. Just like when it was bad, we say it was bad. That is why we are saying that kudos to them, more grease in their elbow, and we are just like the Olivers. We are asking for more. If we could have a single digit for our forest values, that is fine. If they can arrest inflation to a single value, that is fine. What we are seeking for is economic fastest recovery so that we can get back to our days of glorious businesses.
And that was Head of Business and Economic Bureau at GUTA, Charles Kusi Apiakubi. Moving on, the Bank of Ghana is undertaking a major revision of its cybersecurity and information security directive to tackle growing digital threats linked to artificial intelligence, data privacy breaches, cloud computing, and the rise of digital governance. First Deputy Governor Dr. Zachary Mumuni, speaking at a stakeholder engagement organized by the Financial Industry Command Security Operations Center, FICSOC, said the updated directive will be tailored to suit institutions of varying sizes and risk levels.
Together, we must reflect, re-strategize, and build on our shared progress. Accordingly, the bank has initiated a progress to revise the Cyber and Information Security Directive. The updated directive will address emerging risks tied to artificial intelligence, data privacy, cloud computing, and digital governance. These are new areas that were not included in the earlier directive, and so the need to update this is now more than ever imperative. It is being designed with proportionality in mind, ensuring that regulatory requirements reflect the varied realities of different institutions while continuing to protect innovation. In addition, the Bank of Ghana has commenced steps to expand the scope of the FICSOC to include all regulated financial institutions, bringing in our sister regulators, namely NIC, NPRA, and SEC.
You just heard First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zachary Mumuni. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has urged the government to investigate some expenditures in the agricultural sector under the previous administration. Executive Director Bismarck Tete Owusu-Norte made the call while assessing the government's first 120 days in office. While commending the government for introducing agricultural initiatives, he emphasized the need for swift implementation to drive down food prices and ensure food security.
The president also promised to undertake forensic audits of several expenditure within the previous governments, and key among them was the Paolugu Waterfalls Dam. So far, we've not heard much about it, so it will be good to know how far we've come. I think also related to the agricultural sector is the issue of galamsey, and the fact that the president was very clear about the banning of illegal mining and doing the Tree for Life program. I think we've seen some work being done, even though you agree that a lot of us feel that the approach is not as radical as many of us would have thought. However, the fact that within the 120 days, we've been able to have a launch of their flagship agricultural program, that's Feed Ghana program, I think that's a good step.
And that was Executive Director of Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Bismarck Tete Owusu-Norte. Still on the agri sector, and Sector Minister Eric Opoku has announced plans to support Ghanaian farmers through the establishment of 25 farmer service centers nationwide by end of the year. These centers will be equipped to supply farmers with the necessary machinery and tools to improve their agricultural operations, aligning with the government's broader agricultural policies. Speaking on the initiative, Minister Opoku also revealed a bill proposing a review of taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported for industrial and agricultural purposes will be presented to Parliament when the legislative body reconvenes.
The review seeks to reduce the cost of food production, thereby driving down food inflation across the country. The Minister, Eric Opoku, expressed optimism that the proposed bill, when passed, will significantly boost the agricultural sector. This is expected to support government's effort to stimulate economic growth and development.
It's being worked on. As soon as Parliament reconvenes, that will be laid for Parliament for approval, and it will be handled. If you do that, every farmer, wherever you are located in this country, will have access to agricultural mechanization.
In line with its agricultural policies, the minister further revealed that government hopes to establish 25 farmer service centers across the country to supply farmers with the necessary equipment to enhance their operations.
These centers are to serve as one-stop shop for all the farmers in the district. We are going to have tractors there. We are going to have combine harvesters, plowers, and all the equipment that the farmers will require for their farming activities at the center. Then we have the improved seeds. We have the fertilizers. Then we have the agricultural extension officers on their motorbikes at the center. So if the farmer goes to the center and then indicates to the center that, oh, I want tractors for my farming activities, even if the farmer doesn't have money, the center will release the tractors to go and work for him. And then when they harvest, then they take some of the crops to pay off the debt.
And that was a report on government's plans to establish 25 farmer service centers and review import taxes. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.